Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode we are talking about the horror comedy film Office Uprising, directed by Lin Oeding and released on Sony Crackle, July 19th, 2018.
That's my birthday. July 19th is my birthday. Yeah.
So the Crackle gave you this present a number of years ago.
Crackle has had some interesting movies. Like they've done a few movies that I think definitely fit the Run for Your Lives world, but we haven't gotten to them yet.
Interesting. I don't think I've seen any of them. I didn't even know this thing was a movie that existed until you brought this to me to do for this week. So never heard of it before, which is surprising, I guess, in a way that, like, just looking at the cast, like, at least
It's a good cast, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, especially like Britton Thwaites and Karan Soni and Zachary Levi. Like, there's people in this movie that I'm like, oh, I like these people. I've seen these people, but I did not know this movie existed.
Yeah, I know. There were some familiar faces in there. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them already. I thought you might get a kick out of seeing Zachary Levi in a different type of role than what you've seen.
Yeah, it was interesting. Which, of course, I was like, Zach Levi, always a treat to see him. Yeah, I have a personal degree of separation connection to Zach. Just to lightly brag, but not really, barely. I've never met him. I just know somebody who knows him.
Yeah.
But I'm used to seeing him, in a lot more of a, like, more positive, leady kind of vibe. Just to see him be the obnoxiously douchey boss who becomes the obnoxiously douchey villain is really interesting.
He's very demented. Like, he goes to this place of pure evil, and it's not something that I feel we get to see very often. And I thought this movie had enough humor that it was the perfect movie for us to do this week, to record.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to do this one. It's kind of part of this, I call it the Unlinked Office Nightmare Trilogy. Okay? Because these movies, there are 3 movies that were all released within a 16-month period.
Yeah.
We got The Belko Experiment that came out in March 2017. We got Mayhem that came out in November of 2017. And then this one came out in July of 2018.
Yeah. No, makes sense that this one came out last, because, not to slander it too much, but clearly they just said, oh, I liked that thing that movie did. Let's do exactly that and not change it at all.
Well, did they, though?
Yeah, they did.
I don't know, though. I mean, was it a drink?
No, yeah, okay, so that's that's what they changed, and then nothing else. Even with, like, this idea of, like, Desmond's working on a video game and, like, explains, like, working his way up to the executive office as, like, a video game with the final boss situation. It's all, like, I was like, okay, yeah, I've seen this before.
Well, and some of the music that was in this movie, too, sounded like 80s video game era music. Yeah. Like, different things would be happening. I'm like, oh, wow. So we're really, we're going up levels, so it is kind of like a video game to me. Mm-hmm. Did you happen to catch the Wilhelm scream that was in the opening?
Very beginning, yeah.
You can't miss it. Stands out. I think that it had some like Zombieland, you know how he had the list of things that you should do.
Yeah.
We had our own little list in here, which we will talk about. But then it also has the lovable slacker character. Like, I feel like they all do, right? There's the always lovable, goofy guy.
Yeah. So again, he was playing Mike from the Belko Experiment in Mayhem. That's
What did you think, though, when the walls started closing and going up?
Again, I was like, oh, I've seen this movie before. It's called the Belko Experiment. Yeah.
So really, it kind of was a mashup between the two.
It was both movies,
yes.
Yeah.
True. I thought we needed it this week, and I think it was a good choice for us to talk about because, yeah, sometimes you just need something that is very goofy, and you can run with it, with the discussion. So, starting off the way we always do, it was filmed in Birmingham, Alabama. This was the 5th film that was directed by Lin Oeding, who is actually more known for his stunt work. He has done these on-screen fights with Jet Li, Chuck Norris, Vin Diesel. I mean, he's really deep into the stunt world.
Mm-hmm. You could tell, because there's a lot of stunt choreography and fight choreography in this movie that was really well done.
Yeah. CGI, no.
That was not as well done.
No.
But I'm sure releasing on Crackle, they didn't have the greatest CGI budget, so I might give them some slack on that, although some of it is real rough.
Tell me this, had you even heard of Crackle?
I've heard of them. I've never watched anything on there ever in my life, though.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they've had some interesting movies and random things on that channel. I watched it a bunch, but I got sick of the commercials. So there's no budget or box office info because it is a streaming service film. So we're used to there not being any information. It's 92 minutes long. Pake, bring us a synopsis.
All right. An employee at a weapons factory discovers that an energy drink turns his coworkers into zombie-like rage monsters. Who am I kidding? It's just a Belko Experiment themed reskin of Mayhem.
So I'm expecting a lot of jokes from you in this one.
Maybe. We'll see.
Did you notice the man in the opening who did the commercial for Amotech was actually in another movie in my unlinked Office Nightmare trilogy?
Oh, yeah?
He played the voice. And the man behind the curtain, basically, in the Belko Experiment.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So he decided, I did this one. It was a lot of fun. Why don't I go do this one? Because I can do more than what I did in the last one.
Yeah. So he was on the other end of an experiment in this one. Although it wasn't an experiment, but kind of. Like, it was somebody vengefully, purposefully making sure that this happened. So, like...
Yeah. Yeah. It was a shit show for that office building. So I think we should probably just jump in the way that we always do.
All right. I did have like a random note that I didn't get to where I was, instead of talking about what movie we're actually covering, I was just going to kick it off by saying, and this week we're covering a video game in which a group of paper sellers in Scranton, Pennsylvania battle to the death, because that's what it definitely sounds like it is.
I see where you went there.
I know. And now I want to see that game, even if it's just a mobile game. Like,
yes.
The Office with that logo, and then like, Uprising.
Oh my gosh. You know, I was at the collectible shop in Rochester, which I go to every once in a while, to pick up some Jurassic items. And I almost came away with a Lego Office packet, basically, that was like $100. But nice. And I was just like, but it's the whole layout of the office.
Yeah.
I feel like I need that, cool. But I didn't get it. If it had been Parks and Rec, because that's so fresh in my mind, I don't think I could have left without it.
Right.
because it's still fresh. However, we're not here to talk about comedy TV series. We're here to talk about Office Uprising.
Oh, yeah. Although I might have another reference to another comedy TV series, another wonderful NBC sitcom to throw later on. We'll get to it.
Well, our listeners should just grab their can of Zolt and join us on this adventure that we're going to take them on.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if you should do that.
Well, you could drink a little. There might be antidote for a little, but you can't drink the whole can. Step away from the can, Pake.
I'll stick to my Coca-Cola spiced right here. This is what
Coca-Cola spiced?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was just a Coke Zero.
No.
So what is special about spiced?
Raspberry spiced, whatever that means.
Is it good?
It's like, yeah, it's very good.
All right.
It's like a little bit of raspberry flavor, and then like the spiced is kind of like a, I don't know, like a clovey, anise kind of wintry spice. Yeah.
So it's not like the Beverly. Somewhere out there in the ether, there's a video of Pake trying the Beverly. And Pake likes just about anything. Did not like the Beverly.
I did not. I'll pass on that one.
So.
All right. Let's get to it. Let's talk about this one. I've got some notes. We got like a good cast of characters, but I kept it mainly light. But we'll start with, I guess, Desmond, whose last name I didn't bother to write down, even though I got yelled at him
Brimble.
At the end.
Desmond Brimble.
It's a weird name. And I was like, he's Desmond. Yeah, so he was an interesting main character. Like I said, it's Mike from the Belko Experiment, except maybe a little more slackery. Just caught in this. Yeah, he's chronically late and unmotivated. I mean, like you see the first thing he does, he shows up late to work, unprepared. It sounds like this the key card thing happens all the time. And when he finally gets into work late, first thing he does is open up a video game on his computer, which then going back, it was like, well, at least the video game was like his own personal project. And then seeing the like dynamic of the office, I was like, okay, the more I see of this, yeah, fuck this entire building and company, get paid to do the video games.
Yep.
Literally anything else. That I'm more on your side on that now.
Yeah.
But the kind of thing that kicks things off at first, which ends up not being a big deal, but where he finds his mind, which is what keeps him up late at night to be late again and not be paying attention to when things have changed, is the fact that he finds himself having to earn keeping his job through this merger that's apparently happening, which makes him care about his job for maybe the first time ever. Well, picked the weirdest time to finally care, but
you know why he cares.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because Samantha is there, working there, a friend of his from school, and whether he wants to admit it or not, she's definitely the main reason he's working there at Amtech. Yeah. He denies his feelings for her at first, and it's like, yeah, come on, it's very obvious.
For sure. He's definitely into her. Everyone knows he's into her, and he hasn't acted on any feelings, so... Yeah. He realizes that he doesn't want to lose his job because then he won't be seeing her every day.
Yeah.
So he actually has to try.
Yeah, although he went 2 for 2 at first on attempts to do this project, just ending with typing the Clayton Project and then that being the extent of the document for the time being. The first time, he just didn't care as much. But then, of course, the second time is because the cutest little Yoshi appeared and it was definitely Mario Kart time. In real life. Yes. That was kind of cool.
Can you imagine doing that? Like
Could be fun.
With carts? Yeah, I've always wanted to have chair races. When I was working in an office, I wanted to have like office chair races because we have a big open space and I thought it would be fun. But I think this Mario Kart, real Mario Kart, could be a lot more fun.
Yeah, it looked fun.
Well, the first time that he's going to write this paper, he deletes it and decides to write How to Survive a Day at Ammo Tech instead.
Yeah. Which, these tips for surviving work, we saw how well they worked for him the first time, which, I mean, honestly, we're pretty decent. He's got his ideas of how to get around. But then I liked seeing that they also transferred over to the new situation. It was really good that,
clipboard.
Carrying the clipboard through the room of just like rage zombie people, people just going, it's like they market it as zombie horror, and it's like there are zombies, and they use the word zombie. It's like, no, it's just, it's the rage thing.
It's like a food poisoning.
Yeah, it's like, it's mayhem in that aspect. It's like, that's what you're copying. You just gave them a different reason that they have it, is because they drink this energy drink.
Yep. Zolt.
Yeah. But like, I love that, like, he's like, how am I going to get through there? And then just the clipboard works the same as he's walking through with the clipboard, and they all just ignore him. It's like, that's pretty funny. There's a lot of really great visual gags in this movie. I will give it that for his, like, rip-offy, cheesy, terrible effects in some places can be. There were several moments, which I'll point out, most of them, if not all of them, like, that, like, literal laugh out loud moments of just great visual gags that I really, really appreciated. And yeah, so just carrying the clipboard through, and then even like getting out of the slogan, kind of thing where like getting like toss the ball first or whatever, and just like he gives a half-assed terrible slogan on purpose, so they just let him go. And then even when they're throwing him a human head and like, your life is on the line, give us one. He gives one just not terrible enough, but just right on the line enough for them to go like, whatever, go away.
Okay. Yeah, they were very intense. Another, another person that we've seen in a bunch of things.
Yeah, I recognized Alan Ritchson immediately.
Yeah.
Like, that's another one of those actors who was like, yep. There's Alan Ritchson.
Yep.
Okay.
They had a great cast. Like, they were people
yeah, for sure,
that were doing different things. Karen Sony.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a minute to remember where I had seen him. And now it's like, oh my God, he was great as Mo. Just really enjoyed
Karen Sony. I love him in everything he's been. I'm jumping ahead a little bit to his character, but that's fine. Yeah, I mean, especially like the main two, if I'm going to think of him, he's been in like a bunch of stuff even more than this, but like right now mentally where I'm at is like Deadpool, which was like his big like kickoff for a lot of people. And then he's incredible in Miracle Workers as well with...
Is that the Daniel Radcliffe?
With Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I might have to put that on my list to watch.
It's great. It's very great.
Every season is a different theme, right?
Yeah, it's like an anthology thing. It's the same actors with a different theme. Yeah.
Okay.
And like in the last season, maybe it's I don't know if it's getting renewed for another one. I think the one that ended last might have been the final. I don't know. Hopefully it comes back, but you never know. But yeah, he played like a like bounty hunter cyborg. And
oh wow.
It's incredible.
That's different.
Yeah. But other ones, like Sam Daly was Marcus. We didn't see him a lot, but within just a few lines of dialogue, I was already stoked to see him die a horrible death later on in the movie. So I mentioned Alan Ritchson was immediately recognized. And then even Kurt Fuller, who played Lentworth.
Oh, I know.
Is one of those guys like
that you've seen a million times.
You can't like pinpoint exactly where he is, but it's like, oh, he's like one of those recognizable character actors who's appeared in like literally everything at one time or another. You're like, yeah, that guy.
So Ian Harding, who played Nicholas Frome, he became very popular because he played a teacher on the show Pretty Little Liars.
Mm-hmm.
There were also like other people that have gone on to do other things, like Stephen O. Young. I don't think his character actually had a name, but he was the salesman who was screaming into the phone. We're going to see him a little bit later, Pake, in this summer, because he's in Twisters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his face is recognizable because he's the voice actor and face model for Mr. Negative in the like Sony Spider-Man games.
Oh, okay.
I recognize him from that as well.
Yeah. Kenneth Choi has gone on to do TV. Like, he was really big on the show 911. He's been on it since it came on. He was also on The Last Man on Earth, which I think is pretty popular Will Forte show. So, yeah, I mean, despite it coming across as a mayhem experiment ripoff, and I left Belko off, but, I'm kind of trying to merge the names. Despite it being kind of a ripoff of those two movies, the cast in it, the cast was great.
Yeah.
So, and there were a lot of funny moments, which I'm sure we'll get into. But Desmond does, as we were talking about, Desmond used his list of ways to survive at Amotech as a way to kind of get around and do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like practicing your breathing techniques to minimize job stress. What's more stressful than rage-affected coworkers chasing you? That's going to stress you out.
Maybe just a little, yeah.
Yeah. I liked his number 4, avoid the douchebags. The higher the office, the bigger they are. And he puts douche god on the top floor.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked that.
Yes. Yeah, so again, I'm a little lighter on notes, so I'm just kind of getting into the survival aspect of once things have kind of hit the fan and everything's going down. Just a lot of his those good, stupid visual comedy gags that I mentioned. I think one that is my favorite, I am very pleased because I saw it and then I was like, I'm pleased that was left in the movie, because I was like, they easily could have edited that out because it was useless and meaningless. But the fact that they kept it in made me very happy because it made me laugh a lot. It's just the quick shot of them trying to shove Sam strapped to this dolly up into the ceiling vents. Killed me. It's so funny. And just because they could have taken it out, because it literally was just a quick little visual gag, and then they're like, this is not going to work. And then they just moved on to something else. But the fact that they kept it in and included it to make me laugh so hard, I'm happy. I'm grateful.
I had a feeling you might get a lot of laughs from this one because Morad or Mo had a ton of lines which we'll talk about once we get to him. There were some pretty funny things. Some of the dialogue was funny.
Yeah. A lot of his moments. Yeah, I think maybe the best was them dealing with the receptionist and assistant Helen.
Oh my god! To open the door.
Yeah, that, and then but later, even when she's infected and they don't want to hurt her, but they just don't know, and then they have this whole moment of them just injuring this elderly woman, and multiple times they injured her to the point of transforming her into a skinnier, taller stunt performer.
I know.
It's crazy.
Amazing, isn't it? How that can happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. We should mention that all of this madness really started because everyone was pulled into a motivational seminar at 4:00, which Desmond left to go work on this report and then got sidetracked, as we talked about with Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That everyone else stayed. They all stayed at work and drank.
They were given this bad batch of energy drink on purpose because of a disgruntled scientist who had his work stolen out from under him, so he decided to purposely release the bad version that he knew was going to have these horrible side effects.
Yeah.
As what the CEO, whatever Mr. Gaunt says, is a final fuck you to the company.
Well, and he got away. He got away. He drove off. He didn't get any
coming back in that next morning. He's just sees him peeling out, I'm gone. Good luck.
Desmond, when he pulled up to the gate, the guard wasn't there. But he was still looking for a badge that he can't seem to find. And I get it with the badge. I can't get into my office building if I don't have my badge. but I don't go in very often, so I mean, my badge, I keep it in the same place so I don't lose it, but
yeah. Yeah, which leads to, that, like, classic, another kind of one of those comedy gags of this, like, clueless character with carnage and horrible things all around them, and they're just, because they're so single-track mind on something, that they're just walking past it and not even recognizing it, the way he just slinks in, goes to his desk with bodies and mayhem and carnage everywhere, and he's just like, oh, just here. Like...
Well, he wrote the report, but there were 1,920 spelling error or issues with it. Like, when he printed it to take it in. And, oh God. Adam Nussbaum, who of course is played by Zachary Levi, which if you just put the A and you don't put the full name, it's just Anusbaum.
Yes.
Which is great. Amazing. Unfortunately, one coworker brought in a report with lots of mistakes and ended up with a lot of lead in his back, and I'm not talking about bullets. Pencils.
It became a pencil push pin
cushion.
There's a lot of words to mix together into one.
Yeah. I don't know if you can say it 10 times fast.
I'm not going to try.
No. Probably not a good idea.
I'm good. Yeah. Well, I don't have much other notes for Desmond. I do have a few more, but it's not till like we get more to the end of everything. So I'll let you fill in the gaps before that if you've got other stuff to say.
Well, it's not a typical day at the office now that everyone is now rabid. Not in the way that the zombies in 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later. It's not like those zombies. This is a whole other world because they're just infected by something that was in the Zolt. So they do still have, even though their brains are pretty scrambled, they're still in there. Somewhat. Yeah,
like they're speaking and talking, and it's like their own triggers and thoughts that are causing things.
Yeah.
But as Dr. Fromm says, it's like because they took like the full dose, like their prefrontal cortex is so beyond screwed that like they'll never come back.
They'll never come back from it.
Dead, like as far as like that is, they're done for. So they're kind of zombies in that way, but also not at all. In any way.
Like it doesn't take a headshot to kill them. I kind of got reminded of wrestling just from the thumbtacks to the face and the stapler and all of that. I'm like, okay, is this a movie or is this Double or Nothing? Because
a lot of people getting thrown through tables early on.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a pay-per-view here. I did think the CGI on Bob's head slice was real bad.
This is real bad.
It was real bad. However, I loved their face-off. His face-off with Adam Nussbaum was awesome. Like, I wanted Bob to win because I did not like Nussbaum.
Team accounting versus team advertising.
Fight! And I was definitely like wanting Bob's team to win, but no, we didn't have that. It made me laugh really hard when the elevator started saying, "We're experiencing minor technical difficulties."
Minor? Okay. I'd hate to see the major problems if this is that.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, going to Samantha and then her just being infected but not fully. Not as deeply. Still enough to turn her into a violent sex zombie momentarily from time to time.
Yeah, I think he was into it, but not.
Right.
I don't think he quite knew what to do because I think he was hoping for that, like, because I do believe he loved her. He was in love with her. However, I don't know that he expected her to be that forward when it came to, sex.
Yeah. which again, talk about the visual gags. I laughed way too hard at Desmond knocking her out with the Big Book of Calm.
I had a feeling you might enjoy
those
that.
Those are the kind of jokes that are the specialty for me. That's my favorite spot. Those kind of jokes. I love it.
Yeah. She wasn't completely in a rage. She'd be in a rage and throw him around, and then she'd not be in a rage, and she'd be herself again. It's because, again, she only had a little bit of it. She didn't have the whole dose.
Yeah.
But he's afraid because he's not sure, what she's going to do next or what's going to happen. So he has to take precautions. But she does come in very handy.
Yes. Yeah, just rolling her around strapped onto the dolly. Which after the HR moment, that's what having her in there, and then
I love the
HR
moment.
scene. It's so funny. I was like, of course. It makes perfect sense that HR would have the most pent up violent rage as from any.
Absolutely, the stuff they have to deal with. Of course, that they're going to be in a rage all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to just be working. They're following the lead of this one person.
Yeah. Lisa from HR.
Lisa from HR.
There's always a Lisa from HR.
Yep. Sam's incredibly helpful during this part because she basically reveals a few secrets about Lisa from HR.
Yeah. Yeah, it was after that I'm like, okay, maybe we can unstrap her from the dolly now. Although, in that moment, there was some real rage that came through while throwing Lisa under the bus. But she was able to keep it mostly cool. Like, you could see it coming through, but, like, she was able to roll it back to where it's like, okay. So, she saved her friends there. She even managed to save Lentworth and his severance package sweatshirt.
Oh, my goodness. That's what he got.
Mm-hmm.
He was leaving. And he was freaking out because he has kids in college. He has all these things. He needs his paycheck. But we should mention that Lentworth, Morad, and Desmond all work in the same, cubicle area.
Mm-hmm.
And so they know each other. So throughout this, Desmond is getting reconnected with his friends. In true video game fashion, Desmond is going up from one floor at a time to get to the top floor. Mm-hmm. Because he wants to get to Franklin where, so he can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and they can undo the security shutters on all the doors and windows that went off.
Yeah.
They got to get themselves out of the Belko experiment situation.
Yes, we have to get away from that first.
Mm-hmm.
That I had done some research and I looked on Reddit, and someone on Reddit actually asked if it was the same building, and I'm like, no, because it was just shaped it.
They're both buildings are just CGI creations anyway.
Yeah. So he makes it up there. The issue is they didn't want to let him in. Franklin decides not to let anyone in. Despite the fact he may not have created this, and it was created by a disgruntled scientist, he's still responsible for this company and this building and the people in it, and he was not letting Desmond and his friends in. He was happy to leave them outside until a janitor walked out.
I know, it's just thwarted by just the janitor just opening the door. Like, oh, hey.
Where have you been? How are you not infected?
Right.
What's going on with this? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was funny. Franklin. I'm jumping in with other points or characters because I've just got one or two notes for them. So I'm like, throw it in. It was interesting that moment. I was like, why is the CEO here the one that ends up the most level-headed at the point? I was like, don't get me wrong, he's still an evil, greedy psychopath son of a bitch. But that's just his normal default setting.
Yeah.
But he's not infected. He's not he plays a big role in helping for a little bit. Although, but he thought he was safe in that office.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the janitor, and you have these other people in. And then when Nussbaum's trying to get in, And he's like, well, now there's no way you're getting in. And it was like, what about the cheap walls? And it's like, which again, great gag, really funny. It's like, the doors are high security, all this. And he's like, okay, the doors are, but like, wall.
Yeah. The walls are cheap wood. That's easily accessible.
You really didn't think that through very well, did you?
No.
Man.
Again, Zachary Levi and his delivery of this demented accounting director was, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Even if the movie is a bit of a knockoff, he was pretty fantastic in this role.
Oh, absolutely.
Demented and deranged as he's leading his disciples up the levels behind Desmond.
Yeah.
Because he's just been collecting everyone as he goes. Because he's got a plan. He's the man with the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nussbaum and his army of workers, all ready to go, easily infiltrate the office. They've got to just kind of move back all the way to the main office of Gant, which that scene, again, like I was like, I don't want to root for Franklin Gant because he's a caricature of what actual real life villains are.
Yes.
Like
100%.
He's an actual, but I will say he looks pretty badass with his gun, standing in front of his painting with him looking badass with a gun. Like, and so I was like, well, if I'm honest with myself, he's probably the best chance of our good characters surviving. And then with that, he was immediately dead. So, never mind.
First his hand was chopped, and then his head was shot off.
Mm-hmm. It's like, well, never mind then.
I started to wonder if I was watching Red Dead Redemption with the guns.
Oh, yeah.
Because these guns were pretty good. I mean, they were pretty spectacular, what they were able to do with them.
Yeah, even things that defied all semblances of reality and logic. Like how Desmond ends up taking out the other guys standing around him in that room. I was like, shooting a bowl of shotgun shells to take out people? I'm like, I don't think the physics of that work out at all.
That's not how reality. This works. That's not how any of this works. And yet, the suspension of disbelief leads us to it taking out everyone. I mean, he would have been dead too. Like, there's no way he would have survived it.
Well, I mean, in reality, he would have survived it because it wouldn't have done anything.
Well,
it would have shattered the bowl and like shot the desk.
That's true.
You're not setting off shotgun shells with shooting them with other shots. That's not how that works. They require force, and that's not how. But okay,
this is this world we're in. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
So. I mean, that is an ammo company, weapons company. They've somehow managed to, create shotgun shells that defy logic and physics. That's what they sell.
Yeah. And they have wacky scientists that work for them, so no wonder they're making things.
Yeah.
I mean, they had something called Agent Orange something, and it's like...
Soda. It was a soda.
Yeah, that is something that's a chemical. Agent Orange was a chemical that was used in a war.
Yeah.
Like, soldiers got exposed to it.
Yeah, so it's definitely a super great idea for a soda name.
Well, Bob and his team they came up with it. They
were very proudly, very proud of coming up with that one, along with a bunch of other ideas that were his or theirs. It's all advertising. Mm-hmm. It's the creative team. We do it all.
You know what they? Yeah.
But yeah, the shotgun shells thing, that was weird.
It
was a creative idea. Again, not based on any semblance of reality, but sure, it's creative.
Unfortunately, we lost one of our band of heroes during this time because he had decided that he thought he could get his job back.
I'm one of you!
Wentworth decided that he would get his job back. Unfortunately, he took an axe to the stomach, and that was the end of him.
just went out so stupidly. That was all.
That was so dumb. Franklin offering everyone a drink and them all looking at him like he had 5 heads because they didn't want to drink Zolt, and he's just like, Scotch, not Zolt. I'm like, okay. And I remember the first time I watched this, I wondered if alcohol was going to be the antidote for Zolt, but no, it was not.
No, not quite.
No.
But there is an antidote that does exist in a way. We get this. There's a chance that with Dr. Frome's help, they might be able to concoct some kind of cure to save Samantha. We just need Desmond and Mo to arm themselves with a historical variety of weapons.
I loved that part because it made no sense. Yeah. None of those things are going to work. But yet, they did. They worked, but it didn't make any sense. It's like, no, this is not going to work.
Yeah, but arm themselves up with that and then just make their way through Anus Bomb's entire army of workers.
Oh, man. You have to admit, though, Nussbaum does sound like a video game boss when he's in that robot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He does. He sounds like... He reminded me of a mix of Starkweather. There is this game that Chris used to play called Manhunt. And Starkweather, who was voiced by the amazing Brian Cox. Nussbaum reminded me of him and something else, but I can't put my finger on what the other one was. But to me, he's the final boss. I mean, this movie was like a video game itself. Like all the different challenges and things that happened. It was very much like a video game. It's like going up levels in a building and people are dying and the music, it all really was just a video game. I'm surprised they didn't make one after this.
Right.
But I couldn't find any information I couldn't find much information on this movie at all. But again, it's a Crackle movie, so I mean, it's not going to be out there.
No. It was interesting, though, to see Desmond and Mo especially just, like, really step it up and become way more capable than they ever would seem to be. I mean, the sales floor, SmackDown, clearing all of that out earlier, and then even dealing with all the people down here in the warehouse, like, blasting their way through a warehouse full of parkouring soda addicts with a murder rampage going on. And they did it.
I know, and their poor friend, they had to watch it to their friend Ralph. They're like, Ralph! And he drops a whole bunch of Zolt, and so Nussbaum tells them to kill him, like everyone to kill him, because you're only as strong as your weakest person, and Ralph drops all the Zolt, and so he said, kill him! And so they watch him die. The final battle was It was kind of fun. I mean, it ended up being what it needed to be. It wasn't, I mean, of course the C4 was not going to work. Okay, it's not.
The C4 without any wiring.
No.
Like, he's just sticking it to the places and then just remotely trying to, like, do you think it's Bluetooth? Is that how you think that works? Well, I don't know. Maybe they would have come up with something. If they can come up with shotgun shells that work the way they do, maybe Amotech should have come up with some Bluetooth C4.
You know what? I would not put that out of the realm of possibility. But again, Desmond isn't big on reading directions.
No, or paying attention.
At really, all. In any way. I mean,
no,
he's not into it.
But he did finally make the landmine happen. So that
was fun.
That was good for him.
That I enjoyed. That I enjoyed because, again, it's a final boss battle. It's what you expect. When you get into it with the last boss. You know, here's your final boss. I feel like going up every floor, they were dealing with different... It's like Mario Brothers, when you're going through the different levels, and your princess is in another castle. It's like, you go through...
The castle's in the basement. It's the warehouse now.
Well, the whole reason that they ended up having to go to the, warehouse is because... The good doctor told them that that's where the B5H2 antidote was.
Which, once it was grabbed and Mo was able to get out there with it. I was like, man, that antidote worked really fast and easy, completely off screen. How convenient was that?
I know. Again, suspension of disbelief.
It's like the timing of that. It's like he ran into the room with it, threw it at her face, and then she was magically healed and came back down with him.
Yeah.
With him. Like, that's how fast it seemed to have worked.
And fired a shot at a time to save his life. Okay. That's wonderful. It's like they were just putting it all together. Of course this is how it's going to work. Of course this is how it ends. Because this is what we're left with. I mean...
We just got to real quick get them all back together. Blow up the bad guy.
And then walk out the front door.
Walk out the front door, the whole building on fire. And then after that, I was like, wait, what about the doctor? What about Frome? What actually?
It doesn't matter.
I
thought about that for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Like, what about him? Nah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. For what this movie was, it was fun. Was it mayhem? No. Was it Belko experiment? No. Was it fun and goofy and ridiculous and a fun watch when you need one? Yeah. Do I watch it all the time? No.
No. Because those other two movies exist
exactly.
and are the exact same movie, but better.
Exactly.
So
I do love Jane Levy. Have you ever seen Castle Rock? It's the Hulu TV series based on Stephen King.
It did 2 seasons.
She played Jackie Torrance.
Okay, yeah. I remember that.
And
now. Yeah,
when was it season 2 when it ended and she was driving off? All I could think was, "Will you give us a season 3 that's about her going to the Overlook or going somewhere?" Because I want to see that. That's what I want for season 3. But they didn't come back.
No, that was it. I enjoyed it because it was an interesting show because it was like based on Stephen King works, but its own complete like unique spin-off stuff that wasn't based like they took Stephen King's work, like they took especially that season 2 was a lot of like Misery, but then it was like an alternate universe kind of version where it's not actually canon with Stephen King stuff. It was like, but what if this was also in another kind of universe? It was an interesting show for sure. I feel like they took some liberties, but they also just kind of flipped it on its head. And I thought it was fresh because Stephen King has had a ton of movies. I mean, he wrote a ton of books. There have been a ton of movies. A lot of them are very similar as far as whether or not they follow the book. With this series, I felt like it took liberties in a good way and flipped things on its head in a way that I hadn't seen. And I appreciated that. Season 1, I know there was references. There was definitely like Dark Tower references all throughout. And it was but it was kind of its own little thing that had some like characters and things that tied in. But yeah, season 2 was very interesting. I know it's a weird tangent, but like, I will say if people haven't seen Castle Rock, then definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Because season 2, like I said, it was Salem's Lot meets Misery with a little bit of The Shining and its own hodgepodge of insanity.
Yes.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
I do recommend, especially to get to season 2. Definitely watch that show.
Oh, yeah. And Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård. So, for sure. Am I wrong, or didn't Rima and Sean cover it on Strange Indeed?
They did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need an accompanying podcast, and you want to watch it, you can check out Strange Indeed, which Pake is recording with Rima now and has been for the last 4 years. But before Pake, it was Sean, and I thought they covered it.
They did, yep.
So people should check that out. But getting back to Office Uprising, that's pretty much... I mean, the last Desmond thing that I have is him calling out Nussbaum and saying, "Bring it, Anus Bomb."
Mm-hmm.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Again, the dialogue was funny. There were some funny moments.
Oh, yeah.
But now that we've kind of gotten through Desmond, we have to go to Mo because I have some really ridiculous things about Mo that I loved.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fun. Again, Karan Soni, huge fan. And he cracks me up in anything he's in. He's really fun. He's safe, of course, from this whole situation because he's fasting for Ramadan, so he's not drinking an energy drink. So at least, we get to add to that because it was just Desmond and Samantha, and then they run into Mo, and now we have another completely stable, at least somewhat mentally, team member to join into that. And he was fun. I like his interactions with Desmond a lot. He's gosh. He's the best, third best friend anyone could ask for.
You know what was interesting is when they had the conversation about Desmond should quit and leave so that someone who really wants to be there can keep their job. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mo, but I think you're going out the door too. Like, I think, Lentworth is just one of many in this department that are going to go.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get that far, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I talked about the sales room rumble, which was funny. Again, just like obviously, like Samantha goes rage mode and takes out a bunch of people. Desmond is doing his stuff. And then we have Morad taking out a couple of people on accident. And then the one person that he takes out on purpose was normal and not infected at all. But he doesn't know. And it's, again, those gags. It's so funny because he's like, okay, I did that one. And you see Desmond trying to explain. He's just like,
no.
Oh, actually that guy. And he's like, yeah, he was trying to kill you and I saved you. And he's like, I can't tell him that. He's like, you know what? You're right.
It'll break his heart.
Yeah.
Well, because before that, he was yelling at them. Please stop impaling yourselves. And you know what that reminded me of? Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Why do these college kids?
I'm just like, what? This is a Tucker and Dale moment. And then it got me to thinking, we really should have some type of category for dynamic duos. Because honestly, Tucker and Dale absolutely would have won.
Oh, yeah.
They totally would have won. Desmond and Mo would definitely be strong contenders. I feel like maybe we might have to consider that. Maybe.
I don't know. We don't have enough in a season. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see what we end up with this season.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mo lets out that inner warrior within. Not the one that he was showing Desmond his war face. That felt a little different than a warrior. But he finally is able to let it out with the flamethrower. Didn't amount to anything, but still good for him for getting there.
It was great to see him start to do that. But my favorite part was earlier in the movie, Marcus had been bullying Mo, and we get to the end, and then Mo is trying to get the antidote back to From so that he can administer it. However, he runs into Marcus, who just starts kicking his ass.
Yeah, which the whole movie I was wondering, where's Marcus? What happened to him? I'm ready to see him get his comeuppance. And then I was like, I was wondering where the absolute douche canoe was going to make his next appearance, and there he is. He's really beating up on Mo at first, and then the tables turn, and he gets rocked.
I loved the whole dialogue that Morad said there. Marcus, because of racism, your thuggishness, and your complete inability to call me by the right fucking name, I hereby sentence you to a lot of fucking pain. And he keys him in the leg. And I knew that key, with that whole thing that Marcus said about keying people, I knew that was going to come back. And then I love when he jumps on his chest and just screams and is like, that was my war face, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, yep. You go,
and
Mo.
He rips the sleeves off of his shirts and goes just full Hulk mode on his own accord. And then so that all the other like infected crazy people coming after him literally scares them enough to where they stop.
Yep.
Because he's all Hulk mode, and then he just runs away, which just further confuses his enemies. And I'm like, yes, never let them know your next move.
Nope, don't do it. Yeah, don't. I love when he did have the flamethrower and it was working for a minute, and he's like, I like my steak well done, and that's how I like my coworkers. I'm just like, what happened to Morad? He's gone, and now it's Mo with a capital M-O. So I really enjoyed that. There are things I like. I think this movie could have been better, but the parts I liked, I really liked, and the other parts I just kind of wrote off.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, there's moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's gags and jokes that carried me through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because next I'm done with the Morad moments, but talk about some Nussbaum for a little bit. Just again, right off again I knew it was gonna be the jokes were gonna be very well written, and whether visually or even like just some of the like just dialogue jokes is early on when Desmond is in Nussbaum's office and they're having that little meeting. He's talking to him and he's telling him about the merger and the other companies that they're merging with, the names of them. They're brands that are weapons manufacturers and like chemical warfare things, like there's like anthrax and stuff, and then jet skis also. But they're named Altria and Benevolencia. That's what it's like. These super positive names. It's like altruism, benevolence, and it's like, oh, but they're weapon manufacturers.
Do you think?
Of course they are.
Do you think they put that into AI to come up with those names? But wait, no, that didn't really exist back then when this movie came out, which was about 8-9 years ago. Didn't exist, so they couldn't do that.
Mm-mm. As they shouldn't.
No.
Actual art should be written by actual people.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's fun to play with, but no.
Yeah.
Don't actually do anything commercial with it.
No, but it's definitely fun to play with in special projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have anything else really. Just him wearing that like exoskeleton war suit thing.
That was
it made
great.
Made a comeback because the first time we see it is with Dr. Frome talking about it with Desmond, which it's their green initiative, and not by the way that it helps the environment, but that it recharges and runs off of organic material.
Yes.
So you actually destroy nature in order to make it keep running. It's the exact opposite of environmentally friendly, and that's their green initiative, quote unquote. It's like, oh my god.
And Marcus Mo didn't really kill Marcus, so Marcus had to donate his arm.
Well, yeah, the suit needs that organic material to recharge, so Marcus was there to give it a hand. Or an arm. He could help arm it just a little more. Yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah. Yeah, Marcus. Again, most of the baddies got their comeuppance except for the guy who caused it all. He drove off. And somehow I don't think there's going to be a sequel.
No, I don't think so. That's okay. So that's really all my character notes. I've got a few other random notes.
I did like that Wentworth had a honey bong. Did you notice his bong was like a honey container?
Yeah. It's like a little honey bear.
Someone else, it looked like it was a Pringles can or something.
Yeah.
It was real strange. I think that was Ralph, and poor Ralph, we know what happened to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are interesting tools.
Yep. Effective, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I get. Where are you putting the water in this? The honey one made a little more sense that way.
Yeah. Oh, again, Pake. Some stuff you just got to write off, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. Let's see what other ammo tech notes. I don't have a lot other. Yeah, like the commercial at the beginning was interesting. Going into it blind, not knowing anything about what it was about when I jumped into it, immediately I was like, oh, Belko vibes with the building. And then it's like, except this building makes and distributes weapons, which if it goes the way of Belko is even worse.
Yeah.
And then when the metal shutters came up, I was like, okay, it is Belko. Got it.
Yeah, it's the Wish. It's the Wish version of Belko.
Yeah, we do Temu now. Is that what it's called? I don't.
Oh, Temu. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Temu version.
Right. Nobody does Wish anymore. It's all that now. I think. I don't know. I never used either. And then the rage zombie monster people, whatever. Tainted energy drinks. The rage virus of their own.
Yep.
which is, it was interesting.
Perpetrated for people, by people.
Yeah.
Basically.
And so, you see some of the starting effects of that. I was 100% with Jerry from Superstore, played by Chris Grace. One of those, he's done some Dropout stuff as well. And then, he was one of the other people in the call center, or like the switchboard operator that their phones can't go out. So that was like another little like storylines. They can't call for help or anything.
You can't have outgoing calls.
The company was so tired of people making personal phone calls that to save money. I love that Desmond points that out. He's like, so to save the money from employees making personal calls, you hired an entire new department of people to work.
And I want
to just screen calls. Like, that's what okay, sure. And that lady was so annoying. I
want to know what she was on. Because, I mean, she must have been on something to be that happy and smiley because, no. Right.
Yeah, but so her coworker, played by Chris Grace, who, as I made the joke, he played the character of Jerry on the show Superstore, which, by the way, Daphne, 1,000% you're adding that to your comedy sitcom watch list that you're working on, because that's another great one.
You think I would like it?
I think so. It's so good.
Because I'm very picky. We've determined that. It's not that I hate comedy, I'm just very picky.
Yes, I think, though, that one's definitely within the realm of what you've been watching lately. It's so good.
I will put it on the list.
Superstore's getting added, and then you can see more of Chris Grace not whacking somebody in the head with a phone to tell them to shut the fuck up.
Is that America Ferrera? Is she on that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right now I'm working my way through Abbott Elementary, so got to get through that first.
Top notch. Such a good show. Yeah, I think it fits right in if you're needing stuff to watch. It's like, all right, if you're going from Parks and Rec, Abbott Elementary, you got to throw Superstore in there. It's right there along those lines.
Yeah,
so I'm
looking. Yeah, it's particular things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not super silly. It's got to have a little bit of heart. Like, it has to have a little bit of heart.
Oh, absolutely. There was, Superstore was one of those shows that the jokes were hilarious. It was so stupid so many times, but also episodes and moments that would just like make you cry and like really get connected.
Okay, so it's like Ted Lasso.
Oh,
and Parks and Rec did make me cry a few times, so. Mm-hmm. But it was good cry. Like, it was,
Schitt's Creek was always good in that way. Like,
heart. Man. There's heart.
Always need more good shows like that. Yep. So I think the only one running right now that I'm really sticking with is Abbott Elementary. And they're between seasons right now, so I gotta wait.
Yes, but they'll be back in the fall, right?
I hope so.
I bet I'll be caught up and I can watch it as it goes. Mm-hmm. Imagine that.
But yeah, I think that's
it.
Pretty much it.
I don't see anything else. No, I feel like we've talked about everything. Nice. I thought this would be a really good one for us to talk about this week. So, and next week's movie is going to be even more interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure we will talk about that in just a little bit.
We will.
But first, before we can talk about that, obviously we gotta answer the feedback phone and see what's going on there.
Yeah.
All right, we do have one piece of feedback this week, and can we guess who it's from? The most loyal, wonderful listener and feedback person ever so far. Not that I don't like everybody else, but you guys got to step your game up a little bit, because of course Catherine's coming through this week as well. Always looking forward to that. Always can rely on that. And she says, I hadn't heard of Office Uprising, but loved every minute. The gore was horrific, the humor was corny and crude, but there were a few CGI scenes that made me wince. Yeah. But it was so much fun, and I could easily watch it a dozen more times. There were some cool camera transitions, like Desmond's shift from back alley Mario Kart to sleeping at his laptop. While I loved all three main characters, Morad was my favorite. He reminded me of Carol as he gained confidence. He also had the best one-liners, even if most were pretty corny. The choreography for the zombie fight scenes was amazing, and all the extras looked like they were having so much fun.
Ugh. Can you imagine being an extra on a movie like that?
Right.
It would be so much fun. Well, if you'd like to submit feedback like Catherine, You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying the show, be sure to tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. For all the links that you'll ever need, you can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com. And if you feel so inclined, to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We do, absolutely. Always love to hear the feedback, and hope you will continue and add on. We want to hear from everybody. So if you haven't left feedback, don't be shy. We always love to hear from everyone. Of course, speaking about those sharing the love kind of moments, I got to give those shout outs to things going on in the Podcastica universe around us and beyond. Lots of great stuff going on in Podcastic. Of course, my other podcast, Strange Indeed. We are barreling towards the end of this final season of Sweet Tooth, and I don't want it to end. I'm gonna miss Gus and Big Man so much, but we're getting down to the final few episodes, so you can go check out our coverage of episode 6 right now of 8. So we're getting there, but it's been a great journey. It's been a great show to cover. I've had a really great time talking with Rima about it, sharing all the funny moments, the highs, and all the sad emotional lows. But it's been great. So it's a great show. So if you're not watching Sweet Tooth, go do that. And if you are, go check out our podcast if you haven't, because we're having a great time over there. Of course, other great Podcastica stuff going on. The cast of us have been doing their Walking Dead rewatch, but this week, because Jason took off to go over to Scotland and meet up with Lucy and some other people, we had like a kind of Scotland and UK area meetup for a lot of like listeners in that area, and did some cool stuff that they did there, which is awesome. I hope to be able to do something like that sometime, because I need to go to that area in that part of the world. I would love that. But yeah, super cool that they got to do that. So they took the week off of their rewatch and handed it over to our Welcome to the Apocalypse team in character. So we don't get Randy, Jenny, and Rob. We got Margaret, Elizabeth, and Angry Adam rewatching and covering the first episode, the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, and giving their thoughts on it, and seeing how it, compared to their real life in the zombie apocalypse and what they're really experiencing. So that was a lot of fun to listen to, and I highly recommend going and check that out. And plus, just Welcome to the Apocalypse, go check that out. The first season is done. You can binge through those, and it's hilarious and great. Those guys are incredible. And then also, because Lucy and Peter are also doing the Bear podcast, Let It Rip, the Bearcast, they took the week off as well, hanging out with Jason and Karen and David and everybody over there. So they did put up a little bonus episode over there, if you can check out, where the whole, Lucy, Peter, Karen, David, Jason, all getting together and talking about their get-together, their trip, and all the food and things that they've eaten while there to keep in line with the food podcast of the Bear. Little bonus episode, and then they'll actually be covering episodes 3 and 4 together next week to kind of catch back up. So you can check that out, but I'm excited for that. I've got to watch episode 4 now, so I can make sure I'm ready for both of them. We'll do that tonight, I'm sure. So yeah, check out that stuff. Great coverage and fun conversations going on over there. Of course, House of the Dragon Season 2 in full flight. Just dancing around those dragons. It's been... Holy cow, what a season. I don't even know what to say. It's been so brutal, yet so great. And yeah, Dragoncast has been doing an incredible job of covering all of that. Wendy really at the helm this season, doing a great job. And, usually Veronica and Rennie have been there with her. But they're taking this week off, and to fill in, we've got Sam, who was doing a lot of the live reactions over on YouTube, which they're not doing weekly right now. I think they're going to come back and do the finale, the live reaction, so make sure to check that out. Sam's doing a really good job over there, and Sam got to be on the podcast this week alongside returning host from season 1, Kristen, was on this week to also talk about this episode, which was great to hear her back again and talking about House of the Dragon. So yeah, and then Rima's going to be on next week, I think, so definitely go check that out. But yeah, House of the Dragon's been great. Check out Dragoncast. Penny and Greg talking about Extraordinary, the Hulu show, I believe. Yeah, Yeah, just go check that out. They are in season 2 there with episode 6, Jen versus Nora Ultimate Showdown. So you can check out their coverage of Extraordinary there. More Penny as well, teaming up with Kara to do the Buffy rewatch over on Still Slaying. They're still in season 3. This week, episode 20, The Prom. I've been building up to this one quite a bit. They've been doing a lot of like different like posts and talks with listeners and stuff. This one's a big one, so definitely check that out.
Actually posting photos from their own proms.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. There were pictures too of Jason and some of the other podcast hosts, I think, in that mix.
So yeah, lots of great Podcastica stuff for you to check out. And then outside of Podcastica, always give our love to the TV podcast industry's fellas, because those guys are incredible. Do just so much work with a lot of great shows, and they are working through The Boys season 4, which the finale aired this week. So you can go check out their coverage of that soon, if it's not already up. And yeah, wrap up another season of The Boys. So yeah, I know Derek and John have been doing incredible work over there, so go check those out as well. And then lastly, if for some reason you want more of me and Daphne, please do. Go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully. We have teamed up with our good friends Jerry and Jeff to do another podcast outside of the realm of TV and movies a little bit. And it's just kind of a banter comedy podcast for us to just get together and just talk about whatever's on our minds, just kind of joke with each other, try to make each other laugh, talk about what's going on in our lives, and of course center it all around a game that each of us gets to bring and run each week. Really just to kind of, a lot of the games end up being just kind of prompts to get things, funny conversations and things going. And it's been a lot of fun. So we're having a blast with that, and we would love for you to go check that out. It is called Buffalo Podcast. You can get all the information at buffalopodcast.com. But aside from that, since you're listening to this podcast, we know you'll at least check this out, and we will be back next week for some more fun stuff for you. Daphne, what are we doing next week?
Well, speaking of Jeff and Jerry, when a delicious, addictive substance marketed as a healthy dessert becomes a nationwide sensation, a small group of investigators uncovers the horrifying truth and battles to expose the deadly secret behind the stuff. Jeff and Jerry are going to join us next week to discuss Larry Cohen's 1985 film, The Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun. It is a ridiculous movie. And
lots of laughs, lots of jokes. If you haven't checked out Buffalo yet, the next week's episode might give you a hint of how we torment poor Daphne so much. You get a little taste of what the four of us together are like.
Yes. I feel like I'm the Wrangler, and it can get quite ridiculous with the three of you.
Yeah. Well, if you're the Wrangler, I'm the Levi's. Don't know what jeans Jeff and Jerry are going to be yet, but I'll let them decide.
And with that, we've come to the end of another great episode of Run for Your Lives. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.